Hi, I'm Dave Kahle. Welcome to this Christian Business Insights podcast show where my goal is to provide you with practical, actionable ideas to help you create businesses and careers of excellence and at the same time multiply your influence for the kingdom. I have been a Christian in business for over 30 years, and I have personally and contractually consulted with over 500 different sales organizations. So in these podcasts, I combine the lessons that I have learned with an out-of-the-box experience and perspective on Christianity that you will find challenging. And we put that together to provide you with practical insights and ideas that you can use to live better and lead better. Welcome to the journey. Hi, this is Dave. So, can a Christian transition from belief to knowledge? Is it one thing to believe something and another to know it? Well, here's my story. In a recent conversation with one of my CBIG members, that's my Christian Business Impact Group, CBIG, with one of those members, the conversation went to traveling. And in my career, I've traveled extensively, averaging somewhere between 250 and 300 flights per year for many years. And I remarked that I have transitioned from believing that God will be with me in my travels to knowing it. And while the specific topic was travel, the principle of transitioning from belief to knowledge, I think, applies in every area of our lives. We believe because we've read about it in Scripture, and we know because we've experienced it in our lives. It is one thing to believe it because we've read it, and it's another thing to know it because we have experienced it. In this example, I'm reminded of a half a dozen really difficult moments while traveling. I've had car accidents and breakdowns and just a whole host of confusing and troubling situations. And in every one of them, this is really hard to believe. In every one of them, God sent someone to help and resolve the situation. He really does have me in his hand. He really does look over me. I used to believe that. Now I know it because I've experienced it over and over again. Okay, here's one example. This is just one. Again, I've got a whole bunch of these, but here's one. Colleen, my wife, and Kelly, our youngest daughter, and I were driving from Windsor, Ontario, where we had spent like an escape weekend, back to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where we lived. And we were headed to Metro Airport along the way, and they were going to drop me off at the airport in Detroit, and I had a plane to catch for a speaking engagement. And then Colleen and Kelly would drive back to Grand Rapids. Okay, so that route took us through Detroit, and we found ourselves heading west on I-94, which, if you know anything about Detroit, goes right through the heart of town, during rush hour. And I was in the center lane, and on the right, ahead of me, a flatbed truck was going off the exit ramp and slammed on its brakes, causing the trailer to jackknife across the road. So the trailer's jackknifed and slid across all three lanes of traffic. And I was able to swerve into the left lane, but it hit us in the back passenger side of the car, and it slammed us into this mid divider between the two sides of the freeway. Then it came to rest perpendicular to the traffic, blocking all three lanes. We had rolled up about, 100 yards or so and come to a stop. Now, Colleen and Kelly were both hurt and upset and in tears, and I was in a bit of shock. I honestly didn't know what to do. I could see the traffic stop behind us and heavy traffic coming in the opposite direction. But I was dazed and confused, not quite sure what to do. And then a couple of nurses showed up. One was white, the other was black. They had name tags, I remember, from Henry Ford Hospital, which was nearby, but I don't remember their names. I just remember seeing the Henry Ford logo on their name tags. And they just took over, and they attended to Colleen and Kelly, and they calmed us all down and just brought a sense of, calmness and peace to that moment. And then a few minutes later, an ambulance came, having come the wrong way on the freeway, coming towards incoming traffic, because the traffic was stopped totally behind the flatbed truck, and they couldn't get on any other place. So they came on a exit ramp down the road a bit and came opposite from the way they should come to reach us on the freeway. And Colleen and Kelly were loaded into the ambulance, and then I rode in the front with the driver, and he took us all to Henry Ford Hospital, where Colleen was admitted to the ER, and Kelly was admitted to the pediatric ER. So I went back and forth between the two, and as it turned out, their injuries were minor, and they were soon discharged. And after the adrenaline wore off, and we began to think clearly, at about the same moment in time, Colleen and I had the same realization. And that was this: wait a minute, where did those nurses come from? They could not have come from behind the stopped trailer truck, because where all the traffic was stopped, because we would have seen them coming, and we didn't see them walking towards us. They could not have come from outside the expressway. At that point, again, if you've ever been in Detroit, in the city, the expressways are below grade. They're below, and they call them the ditches because they're lower than grade level, and they're surrounded by fences. So you can't just climb a fence and crawl down to the freeway. So they couldn't have come that way. They could not have come from the other side of the freeway because the traffic was way too heavy. It was rush hour traffic. They couldn't have crossed all that to get to us. So how did they get to us? And we both realized at the same moment that we had been served by angels. God had us, and he sent ministering angels when we most needed them. Now, you can believe all you want, but it only takes one or two of those to know, to move from belief to knowledge. I don't believe anymore, I know. And honestly, that's a very dramatic incident, but I've had multiple, some of them just as dramatic, when God just intervened in a situation, almost always by sending someone to intervene. So I have come to know, not believe, to know that God has me. He's got me, and he's gonna take care of me. So at this point in my life, I have lived long enough with him to know, not believe. No, I know. I don't believe. I know that he has me and that he truly is with me. And that knowledge, in place of belief, I believe is a special blessing for those of us who have been around a while. Okay? Hey, just one other little thing here before I go. I am working on populating a Substack page, which, if you're not at all familiar, it's a place where I can eventually download all of my content, and it will be available in one place, free, Substack page. So all my articles, blog posts, podcasts, videos, etc., everything will eventually be on that one place where you can access it free. So I'll put a link in the show notes for the Substack page, and I invite you to check it out. Okay, that's it. We're done. Bye-bye.